And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies.
You know, there are many opportunities for ecumenicalism in our society today. There are many outreaches that we have common ground about. I think one of the great mistakes in how we rationalize things in this country currently is that we have a tendency to perpetuate the ideology that we should focus on our differences rather than to focus on our commonalities.
I think the Pope is fantastic. You know, I just think his tone, his humility, I loved when he said the other day, and it's our view too. We're not trying to, make this a little bitty narrow thing. Anybody's welcome. We may not agree, 100% on doctrine and theology, but you know what? The church, Catholic Church, our church, it's open for everybody. So I like his tone, not pushing people away, but I believe God's big and his mercy is very wide.
Pope Francis ushering in a dramatic shift in Vatican policy, formally approving blessings for same-sex couples. The Vatican's Doctrine Office issued a statement stating that priests can offer the blessings as long as they don't resemble regular church marriage rituals. The move is aimed at making the Catholic Church more inclusive. Pope Francis says people shouldn't be subjected to an exhaustive moral analysis. The Catholic Church doctrine still says marriage is between a man and a woman.
Joel revealed to me an incredible opportunity he just had to meet with Pope Francis.
I just felt very honored and very humbled. Seeing the Pope give the Mass to 100,000 people that day, you just see, he has such a heart to help people. I love the fact that he's made the church more inclusive, not trying to make it smaller, but to try to make it larger, to take everybody in.
La mayor parte de los habitantes del planeta se declaran creyentes. Esto debería provocar un diálogo entre las religiones. No debemos dejar de orar por él y colaborar con quienes piensan distinto.
Confío en Buda.
Creo en Dios.
Creo en Jesucristo.
Creo en Dios, Alá.
Muchos piensan distinto, sienten distinto, buscan a Dios o encuentran a Dios de diversa manera. En esta multitud, en este abanico de religiones, hay una sola certeza que tenemos para todos. Todos somos hijos de Dios.
Creo en el amor.
Creo en el amor.
Creo en el amor.
Creo en el amor.
Confío en vos para difundir mi petición de este mes. Que el diálogo sincero entre hombres y mujeres de diversas religiones conlleve frutos de paz y justicia. Confío en tu oración.
Well, with that intro, hopefully you can see where this video is going. We could see that the ecumenical movement is on the rise, and it's just amazing the times that we're living in. So I just hope that you stay tuned, watch this video. I'm going to go into many different scriptures revealing who the whore of Babylon is, because that's what this really is. This is Babylon. This is, the worldly system, and the whore, which is, the false church. And why do I say that? If you look at, it talks about the whore of Babylon being that great city. See, it also says that the bride of Christ is the new Jerusalem that comes down from above. It refers to her as a city. So you could see that these two are in contrast to one another. And so as we begin to go through scriptures and as I begin to reveal, some of this stuff, just stay tuned. I'm sure you're going to get the full picture as we go along. And I want to go through some different scriptures, because a lot of people would be like, well, how are people going to take the mark of the beast? How are the people going to fall prey and worship and bow down to this system, to this beast. And I'm going to show you through scriptures. So just stay tuned. You're going to see that there is this thing that the devil does. It's the schemes that he has introduced throughout history. And as one man says, what we learn from history is that we don't learn from history, but I'm going to show you through the Bible, through how the devil operates, to be able to get people to become susceptible and open up. And they may not think, no way would I bow down to the beast. No way would I come under this system. No way would I take the mark of the beast. They have this attitude, but the thing about it is if the devil can captivate you and hook you through covetousness, and that's what the false teachers will do. So I'm going to show you some of these. I got another video here queued up, but just as you could see, it's, as the last video that I showed you, it's like an inclusion. It's like the doctrine of inclusion, where you're including everybody. It starts out subtle. And, so that's really what it comes under, this banner of peace and safety. And with the Pope specifically, he's gathering, not the charismatic movements. And you can watch some of my previous videos on music, the devil's Christian music, and how the devil has used the Christian music industry. Music means to muse, and so it literally draws and hooks the masses and almost hypnotizes them, makes them susceptible, and lowers their defense down through music, through media. You can see this is just a tactic of the enemy to get people to, like I said, just bring down that wall, bring down anything that would their defense, the walls come down through the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. This is what the devil did with Eve. She saw that the tree was good, that it was desirable to make one wise, and so he's using that as a lure to draw her in. And so that's how the devil has always used this idea to get people to lower their defense down so that he could get them to bite of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or to sin. And then at that point, they become susceptible. They become enslaved to sin. Now they're a slave to it. And then out of that, then that's when they bow down. That's when they worship. That's when they will, not be able to, they become enslaved to it. They become an addict. And so that's kind of the idea in a nutshell. Now I'm going to go through some scriptures to show you this. Let me actually play this video and we'll go from here.
It's incredible, and I know you're impacting a lot of young people here, and you're just doing something for your community.
Well, and it's not only that, but it's all Christian. We're all Christian guys, and Lord told us to do it. So we just obeyed, that's all.
It's so wonderful that you're here continuing to make great music and making an impact. And you're not ashamed to say that you believe in Jesus Christ.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, 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 hey! Hey, stupid!
Who'd you love to meet?
Jake Gyllenhaal. I just
You
thought
want to
about
meet
it.
him?
Yeah.
Probably athlete-wise. Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, he's amazing. You a Clemson fan?
Big Clemson
You played
fan.
Clemson? I just asked because I recently took the boys to their first Clemson game.
Justin Bieber, probably.
Yeah.
Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
Oh,
you want to
yeah.
meet him?
Yeah.
You want to call him right now?
Yeah. Who? Are you
call him.
No, you're kidding.
Yeah, no, we'll call him right
Wait,
now.
who? No. Wait.
I don't know. We're gonna FaceTime him right now.
No. You're joking. You're joking.
If he calls out, I'll
Pause. Can you come to a rhythm night? Oh my God.
Oh, he's really doing it.
No, you're kidding.
Hey, don't freak out. Just act like he's a nice person. He's a wonderful guy.
Can we have him at rhythm night?
That's what we're gonna ask.
So here we got Justin Bieber, and he has these explicit lyrics. He claims to somehow be a Christian to some extent, rubbing shoulders with Furtick, so that's why they're catering to you. These are just the people that rub shoulders with the world for the sake of fame, fortune, and to grow their ministries. You got Laurie This is just the Lord writing beast. It's writing the Babylonian system to get fame, prestige. That's Chris Tomlin with some secular artists. I'm sure people that are into that industry, they'll be able to recognize who this is. But this is what they do. This is how they become, famous and gain notoriety. But out of this is what we're talking about. This is the whore of Babylon writing the beast. It says that she's over many waters. Let's see. Here's a scripture right here. It says, "Then he said unto me, the waters which you saw, where the harlot sits, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues." Revelation 17:15. So this is an understanding of she rides the beast, but she's also over these waters, which represent many nations, tribes, and tongues. And so this is what this beast, which I would see as the worldly system. It's the system of the world, which consists of many people, tribes, nations, and tongues. And so she is setting over this. And so, and then this is what gets down to the ecumenical movement that is on the rise. It's literally drawing in the masses. You could see the Pope in some of the previous video that I did. He had this whole Together conference where he had I think it was Chris Tomlin, just some other major so-called Christian artists that gathered together, and they all came under one umbrella. And it's really, goes back to Kenneth Copeland, Todd White's a part of this. There's many different people, Francis Chan, that is gathering together, and they're coming together under, we're all, under one umbrella, which is really peace and safety. That's the message that the Pope Francis is propagating. He's using this understanding and trying to get people to come under this idea that they're all headed the same direction. But this is, obviously you have the false system on one side, which is a lot of, let's say, even, the people that are claiming to be Christians, not outside of the Catholic Church, but they're just living a lifestyle of ease and comfort. They did not really make Jesus Christ the Lord and the master of their life. And so, of course, because they're just wanting, to live a peaceful life. They're just wanting to, go along to get along. That's been, their idea. They're living this lifestyle. The false teachers are feeding them lies of just thinking that, hey, you could live for yourself, live for your own desires, do your own will, and still claim Christianity, which is obviously falsehood. But so when the Catholic Church comes along and, it's a comfortable message in the Catholic Church as well, they all, easily just flock together. And so birds of a feather flock together. But this is the understanding. Why do I believe that the whore that rides the worldly system, why do I believe that is the false church? And like I said, there's just some familiar aspects as far as the bride of Christ being the New Jerusalem that comes down from above. She's a city. So then the devil, which always is imitating that which is divine, of course, there's going to be similarities. There's going to be something that looks like the same. And so she's also a city, but she's mystery, Babylon. That's what's written on her forehead. And, a lot of people have said that she's Jerusalem, but I I think it's more so just the false system. Obviously, Jesus said in regards to Jerusalem, he said, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the one who kills the prophets." So, he laid the blood guilt upon that generation of his day that had rejected the truth, right? He said, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah is falling on this generation. But it's because it's the same spirit. It's the same spirit that rejects truth, that denies truth, that clings on to their belief system in the midst of being confronted by God through his spirit, through men of God, through Jesus in his day, and they refused it. Jesus said, "You missed the day of your visitation." And so he came with this message, and he said, he literally said that, she was guilty. They said that, you visit the tombs of the prophets that your fathers killed, showing that you're one with your father. I'm paraphrasing that verse, but that's the idea, is that these people were of the same spirit, of the same caliber, that they were contending against the truth and coming against it. But, she's setting over many waters. She's setting over many people. And I like when you look at Revelation chapter 18, I'm just going to my notes. When you look at Revelation chapter 18, you see that he talks about Babylon has fallen. So this is a fall that transpires before she gets judged. It's like the great falling away is what I would see it as, because it's not a falling to destruction, because as the chapter goes on, you will begin to see that judgment begins to happen on her, on Babylon. Not initially. The falling part is like what Jesus said, like Matthew 24, the love of many will grow cold. It's the same concept that if you read 2 Timothy chapter 3, it says perilous times, difficult times will come. These are the times of the end, is when this great falling away happens. It also says in, let me see, going back over here. It also says in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 3, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall heap up for them teachers having itching ears. So this is the message that that literally comes to the masses, but they're heaping up these teachers having itching ears because of their lust. See, it's the lust that hooks them. In Peter, he said, here it is, by covetousness they will exploit you with deceptive words. For a long time their judgment has not been idle, and their destruction does not slumber. See, it's by covetousness. They're going to look for something that's going to hook the masses. And what would that be other than what the world is striving after? Like all that is in the world, John says, he says that all that is, do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And so you could see that, that this is what will hook the masses. So this, you wonder, like, and this is back to the question that I proposed at the beginning of this video, is why are people going to worship the beast? Why are people going to bow down to the beast? What is it that is going to prep them and get them to where, prime them? It's going to prime them. See, the devil will come as an angel of light. He will come and he will come in such a way that seems to be something that is appealing to the masses. And what he will use is, according to 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 3, is what? By covetousness. So something that somebody would covet, you know, that's how he's going. You could see that these ministers such as Stephen Furtick or what was the other guy's name from Hillsong? I'm not even sure. He fell or whatever, but he was rubbing shoulders with Justin Bieber as well. And they're using these stars, these musicians to bait the people. So through covetousness, they're exploiting, they're making merchandise of these people, but at the same time, they're hooking the masses. They're drawing them in by worldliness, by things that the world is attracted to. But because the so-called Christians have not, like Galatians 5:24, have not crucified the flesh with their affections and lusts, because those who are Christ have truly done that. They're built upon the rock, upon Christ's teachings. And Christ taught this. Christ says, if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and put it from you. So once the evil eye is put from you, the lust of the eye, it's no longer there. It's put from you. Because Jesus says, if you don't do this, what does Jesus say? Matthew chapter 5, he talks about, this is, this is where it gets into the Sermon on the Mount. He says, it would be better for you to have one eye or one arm. So if you don't cut the evil arm off, you don't pluck the evil eye out, he said it would be better for you to have one than to enter in both, and go to hell. So, and be sent to hell. So this is a heaven or hell issue. This is a salvific issue. This is all about salvation. And so this is what they're grabbing the masses and bringing them in. And this is just like the devil. So you see this with Greg Laurie. He's doing this with Ozzy, and you could see that he's saying that, oh yeah, you're a Christian, you're a brother, this whole concept. But like, okay, what are you talking about? Ozzy in 2022 is having his Ozfest or whatever. It's obviously completely worldliness, secular, diabolical idea that he's doing these concerts and claiming Christianity. But because Greg Laurie wants to appeal to the masses and draw in the crowds, he's going to use that. So with T.D. Jakes and P. Diddy and all these different big ministries, Joel Osteen with Kanye West, and you're just seeing that this is the whore of Babylon. She's riding on this system. She's riding on the system of the world, and she has a cup. She's drinking the blood of the prophets. So she has no problem killing those who stand for righteousness. So even though she's not literally killing them in this day, it's the same spirit that would kill them because of the confrontation that came. You could see that Jesus, even though he had not been crucified yet, even though they had not killed Stephen, even though they had not started killing the church yet, he still laid the blood guilt from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah on that generation. This is that same spirit. So this is what we're talking about. This is why it represents the false church. And she's decked out in purple and scarlet and gold. So, this is like, things that like pearls, like the pearl of great price. That's what the church is. They sold all for the pearl of great price. Purple, scarlet, purple is royalty. We're a royal priesthood, a holy nation. 2 Timothy chapter 2 talks about in a great house there are not only wood and clay or whatever it says, but you're supposed to have gold and silver. And so it talks about this gold, and this is the idea of like being a vessel of honor fit for the master's use. Buy from me gold refined in the fire is what Jesus said. So this is really a representation. It could represent, the Catholic Church, and obviously they have the same colors of scarlet and, these similar colors that this whore is writing, and the beast has these same colors as well. And so, but you could see that I think it just represents, what the church should be decked out in. Hold on one second. Means of whatever it takes to get the people to come into the church, but this is what makes the people susceptible, where they will ultimately take the mark of the beast. They will ultimately bow down and worship. Because they've already become enslaved to the system of the world. And she knows that. And so this is what she's setting over. She's setting over many tribes, tongues, and nations. And I did a video just like a couple days ago, maybe yesterday, in regards to this ecumenical movement, because it's headed a certain direction. It is definitely headed to this place where, it's beyond just let's all, join denominations and, the Protestants, let's, come home to the Catholic Church, right? The mother church, that they're trying to draw them back into it. It's beyond that, because you could see that the Pope is literally creating this, the Father's, what is it called? The Abrahamic Father's house in Abu Dhabi. And this is, I'll play this video. And so you guys can see that this is where it's really headed to right here, this ecumenical movement.
Religious history was made in Abu Dhabi last year when the document on human fraternity was signed by Pope Francis and Dr. Ahmed El-Tayeb, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar. It called for tolerance, universal peace, and the reconciliation of all faiths. Embodying this agreement, this year construction will start on a project called the Abrahamic Family House on Saadiyat Island. Due for completion in 2022, the site will house a church, a mosque, and a synagogue.
A church, a synagogue, and a mosque. 3 buildings facing each other, but in 3 different directions.
Sections that it's literally the Jewish, faith. You have the Catholics, and then you also have the Muslims and Allah. So what's interesting is that even that they built this facility where they're all coming under one umbrella, which is really just under this treaty that was signed of tolerance. And so see how it's this idea of they tolerate. This is where they hook you, because it's under this umbrella of peace and safety that people are coming under. And of course, people don't want war, and so that's, when they can try to present this idea, then everybody would be like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And so they come under it, and then, this is where they're hooking you by your desire, this covetous idea that they would draw you in. And so, for let's say with just even Babylon in general, with Nebuchadnezzar, once they took captive Jerusalem and burned it with fire, then obviously the captives, which was, Ezekiel, you had Daniel, these are all like contemporaries around the same time, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. See, Daniel, even though Daniel was of Babylon, he didn't eat like Babylon. See, this is where the devil will hook you, because He's wanting you to have, drink the wine, eat the food, which I believe would just be a representation of eating like the others, indulge, prodigal living, just, living like how the world lives. And so Daniel separates himself, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego along with him. And so they are not partaking like the rest of the world's partaking of. And that's what Christians are supposed to live like. They're supposed to live unique, different. They're supposed to be a peculiar breed, right? A royal priesthood. They're supposed to be separate and sanctified and set apart for God and his purpose and plan. But if not, if you just indulge, that's where you're getting hooked. That's where you're getting enslaved. And that's why those people will bow down. They will not be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When they said, when you hear the sound of the music, bow down, right? But because they took a stance previously, see, this is the preparation. This is what will keep you in the hour. Now to him who is able to keep you from stumbling, but you have to keep yourself in the love of God, according to Jude. So you have to do your part. Even in the book of Revelation, it talks about, if you keep my command to persevere, I will keep you from the hour of trial that comes upon the whole earth. So this part you have to do previously. And if you don't, you will fall susceptible and pray. This is also what happened with Peter. Jesus said when they were in the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, pray that you would not fall into temptation. And he told Peter, he goes, I prayed for you 3 times. When he went away or whatever, he went away and prayed for Peter. But just Jesus praying alone will not keep you. You have to do your part. And Peter chose to sleep, which is just obviously an image of somebody that did not do their part. And so what happened to Peter? When the pressure was turned up, Peter denied Jesus, right? And he denied him, and then he went away and wept bitterly. Now, Peter didn't continue to deny him. So he stood corrected, he repented, and never fell prey to that same idea again. But that was supposed to be an example. That was supposed to be something that we as Christians, true Christians, were supposed to learn from, is to actually do our part. Now, if you don't, this is what the devil will do. If the devil can't get you, this is how, it shows this. This is his schemes. Look at what he does with Jesus. Like when he tests him in Luke chapter 4, he tells him, specifically, he says, if you bow down and worship me, I will give you all the kingdoms of the world. So this is what people are being hooked with. They're being hooked with this desire for the things that the world is striving after. And if they get hooked by it, if there's a weakness there, if they're not standing true and strong through, their lifestyle, then, the devil's going to bait them with this idea and introduce this. This is, even when, like, Jude says this. Let me give you this verse, because this is the concept right here. And I was sharing this verse earlier. This is 2 Peter chapter 2. In 2 Peter chapter 2, these are all supposed to be just like 1 Corinthians chapter 10. You could read that chapter. But these are admonitions. These are to admonish us. These are to show us what we should not do. Like Paul says, uses the children of Israel who tested the Lord 10 times. And he basically says, if you do what they did, you're going to get what they got, which is God swore in his wrath, they're not going to enter into my rest. And so, they sat down to eat and drink, rose up to play. Moses went on the mountain, came back down, threw the tablets, broke them, because they erected a golden calf, called it God, called it Elohim. This is that same idea where they're bowing down and worshiping what? This golden calf, calling it God. but it's because they gave into their pleasure. Like, these 10 times you tested me. It was all about, like, we had better food back in Egypt. We had, this in Egypt. And so they complained and murmured. And so it was all about their own desires. But you could see the same idea, Peter and Jude, both books. You could read them, 2 Peter chapter 2 and the book of Jude. They have very similar things that they're presenting. Jude seemingly, got a lot of it from Peter. But you can see here that it says at the beginning of the chapter, it says, as there were false prophets among the people, there will be false teachers among you who will secretly. So this is not just outright, everybody can see it. It's a subtle thing. It's secretly bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. So this is where swift destruction comes from. But it's this message, and out of one of these things, it gets represented. It gets related to Balaam. So look at this. It says they have forgotten the right way. So they knew the right way and gone astray, following the way of Balaam the son of Beor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. This is 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 15. It also says something similar in Jude. Let me see if I have this in here. And maybe I don't have that verse in here. But in Jude, it says something similar. It's about Balaam. And if you know anything about Balaam, here, let me go over here and read this to you. It's in Numbers 31. In Numbers 31, let me see if I can find this. Talks about Balaam in this chapter, and I'm not even sure if I can find it right now, but it talks about Balaam. Maybe somebody could find the exact verse, but it talks about Balaam, and he counseled Balak. It alludes to this idea, that he counseled Balak to send in the Moabite women. So he couldn't get the people to be cursed, because that's what Balak wanted Balaam to do, is to come and curse the children of Israel. And so obviously there was going to be great riches that was going to be involved in Balak giving to Balaam if he actually would come and curse them. Well, Balaam couldn't curse the children of Israel, but there was this the way in which he was going to go about being able to, not bring the children of Israel to a place where they were susceptible to the enemy. And that was send the Moabite women, give them something that they would desire. And as they begin to join with these Moabite women, this is what it says in Numbers chapter 25. It says, now Israel, this is verse 1 of Numbers 25. It says, now Israel remained in Acacia Grove, and the people began to commit harlotry with the women of Moab. So this is what Balaam had counseled Balak to send in the Moabite women, send in these women that, were potentially dressed in an attire of a harlot. Read Proverbs chapter 7, right? Don't go near her house. Seemingly they sent in these women, and it said they invited the people to sacrifices to the sacrifices of their gods, and the people ate and bowed down to their gods. See how that is? They ate and bowed down to their gods. Interesting, food sacrificed to idols, idolatry, seemingly the same kind of thing that follows Jezebel in the book of Revelation. But this is the idea that it says, so Israel was joined to Baal of Peor, and the anger of the Lord was aroused against Israel. Then there was a great plague that came, not to get too deep into the story, but Phinehas stopped the plague by killing Zimri and Cosby. This is the idea. This is what gets people to the place to where they will eventually bow down. They get hooked through worldliness. So you could say that, people would, probably say, no way would I bow down and worship the beast. No way would I take the mark of the beast. Well, this is the scheme of the enemy. It's the ploy of the enemy to get people. This is the same thing that happened with Solomon. 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 1. But King Solomon loved many foreign women, and as well as the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, same type of women, Amorites, Edomites, he had a lot of them, Sidonians and Hittites, from the nations of whom the Lord had said to the children of Israel, you shall not intermarry with them, nor they with you. Surely they will turn away your hearts after their gods. Solomon clung to these in love, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives, it says, and his wives turned away his heart. For it was so when Solomon was old, that his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not loyal to the Lord his God, as was the heart of his father David. So this is the idea. This is what the devil uses. This is his means to get them to be drawn in through covetousness, through what the world covets, through what the world desires. He's baiting the people with this idea. And so you could see this within the false church. You could see that this is the horror. They have this message of inclusion. They have this message that Jesus paid it all. Jesus did it all. It's not about your righteousness. It's not about your works. It's not about what you do, which they twist the scriptures to their own destruction. As Peter said, they do with Paul's writings. They twist them, they contort them. That is not what Paul was saying in Ephesians chapter 2 and 8 and 9. He was not saying not of works of obedience. He was saying not of works of rituals and washings and of the law of circumcision and things of that nature, but not the moral law, not in regards to having a response of obedience, which is a living, saving faith that James talks about, not in regards to that, but because they lump it all into one idea, people fall prey to it because it's easy. Oh, I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is confess and say that Jesus is Lord, but still live for my own self, live for my own will. These are the people that are going to be susceptible, and they already have bowed down in their heart to serving themselves. So of course, they will not be able to conjure the strength and draw it up in that day to be able to stand against this beast, stand against this worldly system, stand against this message that, that the whore of Babylon that's writing this system has drawn them in. She's called them back. And it seems like it's peace and safety. And when they say peace and safety, sudden destruction comes upon them as a pregnant woman, and it says they will not escape. And so this is that message that, you just got to see that this is how they're being drawn in. This is how the devil operates. This is what the devil was trying to do with Jesus. This is what the devil has done with many musicians, that have sold their souls to the devil. At least that's what they've confessed. And you could see it's for fortune, it's for fame. But once he has them, then now it's like they've been sold into the slavery and the addiction of sin. And so they could think in that day, no way will I bow, but they didn't do what they were supposed to do previously to keep them in the day of trial, like I said. So all this connects together. And so what you see is this is, he prepares a generation to bow down to this image. This is what the devil does. They send, like I said, they send in the Moabites. They send in the Moabites just represents anything, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, the pride of life, whatever your fancy is, right? Whatever you're into, you could be like, well, I'm just into my job and making money and, being somebody in this life. Well, that's the pride of life. Well, I'm just, I'm not really worried about being somebody in my job or having some great ministry. Well, what are your eyes set on? You know what I mean? Because there's three different things that John says, all that is in the world, the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. So it just depends on what you're drawn to. So this is the image that, you're drawn to, and then eventually you'll bow down. So these are the same tactics. The devil, nothing's new under the sun. The devil will use the exact same tactics that he's used all along. This is why the Bible talks about do not be unequally yoked together with an unbeliever. So, because if you have this fellowship, evil company corrupts good habit. And then at that point, then obviously you're falling away. You've apostatized from the faith, giving into any willful sin. But even beyond that, now you're susceptible to where when, something grand on a grander scale, like the mark of the beast or this image is erected, and either bow down or you're going to lose your life. These people are not going to stand in that day. They are going to buckle. They are going to fold under the pressure because they've already done it in their heart. They're serving themselves. Jude says these people serve only themselves. They've crept in by a side door. They're in your love feast. These are Christians in name only. They're not true Christians. They have not let go and died to their passions and lust and being led by God. Like the Matthew 7:21, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father. And so you see these people like Greg Laurie, like Stephen Furtick, like T.D. Jakes, like all these people that are peddling a message of comfort and ease, Joel Osteen. They're rubbing shoulders with these stars, these football players, all these just different people that, would possibly claim Christianity. They're using them to draw on the masses. And because the people are idolizing these people and they're lured through media, through music, then at the sound of the music, they're going to bow down to this image. So let me see here. And where it's really headed to, and let me read this verse, Revelation chapter 18, verse 23. It says, the light of the lamp shall not be heard in you anymore. So why do I believe that the horror of Babylon is the false church riding the world system? And he's saying that the light of the lamp shall not shine in you anymore, and the voice of the bride and the bridegroom shall not be heard in you anymore. So this is like this is a religious system. This is something where the light was shining in you, where the actual the light of the lamp is like God's word. It's not going to shine in you anymore. The light of the lamp could also be in regards to the Spirit of God being revealed, the grace of God that illuminates. And then it says, for the merchants were the great men of the earth, for by your sorcery all nations were deceived. See, the sorcery. There's this idea that the false system, it says that she's filled, Babylon is filled with every unclean spirit. So there's spirits behind this, which are mesmerizing, right? They're going out to the masses, and it's like I said, they're being hooked through some desirable thing. And so this is where they become, drawn in this way. Even in Galatians 3 verse 1, Paul's talking to the Galatians. He says, who has bewitched you that you should not obey the truth? See, if you're not obeying the truth, you're doing your own will. You're not like, you started in the Spirit, Paul says to the Galatians. So to be in the Spirit, you're walking in the Spirit. You're not fulfilling the lust of the flesh. And out of that, that's when you're able to stand strong against the system, the desires, the testings, the trials, the temptations of the enemy. You're able to stand strong against it but if you start in the Spirit and then you go back, you're the dog that returns to its vomit. You go back to something previously that you were clinging on to, then you become bewitched. This is the sorcery. These are the schemes of the enemy. You've been bewitched. So, what was it? In the Old Testament, Samuel said, rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. So a rebellious heart, someone that does their own will, this is like the devil. Arista Crowley, he had said, do as thou wilt, right? This is the whole law of like Anton LaVey, the Satanic Bible. This is what they thrive off of. This is the sorcery. This is the witchcraft. It's rebellion towards God because it's doing your own will. It's trying to enter in another way other than by grace through faith, which is grace teaches you to deny ungodliness, Titus 2:11 and 12. And then out of that, you're by faith of a responding obedience. Faith comes by hearing, hearing by God's word, and you're obeying and responding to that message. That's a living faith. A man is justified by works and not by faith only. So what works? Works of obedience in response to God's words. And this is that message that like if you don't live out of this faith that obeys God and his message and be built upon the rock, what's going to happen? According to Matthew chapter 7, Jesus said, the winds come, the storm comes and beats against that house, and great is its ruin. So it's going to beat against that house. What does that mean? They're going to literally bow. They're going to worship the beast. This whole idea that is being propagated in our day of lawlessness, and the hearts of many are growing cold, this great falling away from truth. I wouldn't even say it's necessarily a falling away from the faith, because most of all these people have never been in the faith, but they literally have twisted and contorted the scriptures so that they can do their own will and not make him Lord of their life. If he's not Lord of all, he's not Lord at all. And that's what these people don't understand. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do the things that I say? Don't take my word for it. Take Jesus's word for it. Just kind of looking where I should go from here. Like I said, Revelation 16:19, the great city was divided into 3 parts. Whether the Abu Dhabi, the Abrahamic father's house is a fulfillment of Revelation 16:19. At best, it's headed to that. At the very least, it's headed to that direction. But if it does seem like it's divvied up into 3 different sections, but this is that ecumenical movement, and even some things in regards to Abu Dhabi is that in that area of where they had built this 3 buildings, there's this meeting place in the middle where I guess they can kind of talk amongst the religions. The thing about it is that the Christians, it's against the law of this peace treaty that they ended up signing. It's against the law for Christians, or obviously I wouldn't call the Catholic Church Christians, but so-called Christians, let's say, because I mean, the Protestants, like I said, a lot of them are coming back under the Mother Church. So whether you want to call it what they call is Chrislam or Chrislamish, we're all like Jewish, Islam and, the so-called Christians are coming together under one umbrella. I just kind of made up another term, which was, instead of Catholicism, it was Catholicism, just kind of putting all those terms together. It's horrible that we have to use Christ's name. I would rather just, use, Catholicism instead of using the other term that they use. But either way, these are false Christians anyways, and a lot of them are claiming Christianity that are getting back into bed with the Pope and the Catholic Church, being drawn back under the Mother Church. So it's all under this idea, I think that it's not just the Catholic Church, I would say, is this harlot that rides the beast. I would say that it's predominantly the Pope. It's predominantly because he's the one that's ushering in, like, I think he would be more so like the false prophet that is ushering the people in and bringing them back into the with the Catholic Church, which, the Catholic Church has something like 2 billion people, but then also, like, if you look at Islam and the Muslims, they have about like 2 billion people too, I think. I'm not sure exactly the figures, but that's where, they're all coming together. And they won't even allow, like, even the people that say, that they are Christians, which they're not, because they're bowing down already in their heart. But even the ones that are over there that are supposedly a part of this church, you had a church, you have a mosque, you have, then you have this Jewish temple that the so-called Christians cannot even proselyte and bring in the other denominations. It's against the law. It's written into their treaty. And from what I understand, if they do claim, and say that Jesus is the only way, they could be susceptible to like 5 years imprisonment. I mean, this is like not really the grounds for compromise and tolerance. It's really linking up with these other religions, and now you are still susceptible. You're tolerating them. They can proselyte and make you a convert, but you can't do the same anyway. So this is what they're signing up for. And as the book of Revelation talks about, the 10 nations, the 10 horns that are on this, the 7-headed beast, that they're going to hate the harlot. They are signing up for this idea when they decide to turn their backs on the whore that they're riding this system, the system of this world. Eventually they're going to get an idea about her, the scripture says, and they're going to turn on her. And that seems like what we are headed for. They even have this, so just so you don't think that this is just something that is happening in Abu Dhabi, this is also happening in Germany. Well, check this out. I don't know how far along they are in this, but this is another place that's called, let me see if I can find it, the House of One. This is called the House of One. This is another place where the Jewish, Islam, and the Catholics, or so-called Christians, are linking up there in Germany. Check this out.
Here in the center of Berlin, a hybrid church-mosque synagogue is underway. Located on the site of a demolished 13th century church, House of One is an attempt at building interfaith bridges by letting people of 3 religions worship under one roof.
Wenn Sie einen Rabbiner, einen Pfarrer und
If you'd like to see a rabbi, a priest, in ein Gebäude, wo eine Synagoge, eine Kirche und Moschee aufsehen, und in der Mitte ein Saal, wo die verschiedenen Strömungen sich treffen können. The House of One in Berlin.
Es wird ein Bet- und Lehrhaus sein, in dem
house
drei
of prayer and
Religionen
teaching in
wohnen.
which
Für
three
uns Muslime
religions come
ist es eine
together.
wunderbare
For
Möglichkeit,
us Muslim,
in
it
unserer
represents a
Heimat,
wonderful
in Deutschland,
opportunity
wahr
to
und
be
ernst
perceived
genommen
and
zu werden.
taken
Es ist nicht
seriously.
nur One für
The
Berlin,
house of one,
sondern
not
von
only one
hier,
for Berlin,
gerade weil
but
es eine
from here, and
multikulturelle
because
Stadt
it is
ist, wird sich das
sorry,
verbreiten
not reading it
in
fast enough. The
verschiedenen
idea will
Ländern der
spread to
Welt.
different
Und wunderbar
countries.
ist auch,
So this
unsere
is something they
Freunde
want it
und
to
Nachbarn
spread,
besser verstehen und
not
schätzen zu
just
lernen.
to
Im House of
these
One
areas.
werden Gerechtigkeit, Frieden und Versöhnung
Justice,
zu Hause
peace and
sein. Genau diese
reconciliation.
Gedanken haben wir in den Architekturwettbewerb einfließen lassen. Sie sollen den Geist des Hauses prägen.
Wollen Sie nicht mitmachen, um dieses Zentrum aufzubauen, dieses House of One?
So this is not just in Abu Dhabi, this is in Germany, Berlin. And so they're wanting this to spread, and you could see that this is that ecumenical movement that's on the rise. This is the tolerance. So, and we know, like in the book of Revelation, even with like, the church of Ephesus, it says, you do not tolerate those who call themselves apostles. God was commending this side of the Ephesians. They obviously left their first love, but at least they were still taking a stance. They were not just willing to go along to get along. So at least they had that going for them. But if you don't come back to your first love, you're going to be susceptible to this idea, even though you might think that you'll stand in that day of trial and testing. You got to be the wise virgins with, more than enough oil, your lamps full, to ready to meet the bridegroom, because if not, your lamps are going to be going out and you won't be prepared. He's going to come as a thief in the night. That's what the Bible talks about. But just to show you that this is spreading. This is not just, just one area of the world. Seemingly they want this to go out to many countries, this idea, and it's at a rapid rate. I mean, this was built quick in Abu Dhabi, and I believe the same in Berlin. Germany, this was built quick, but like, just to bring a synopsis, get to the place to where I'm closing this up. It's this message of lawlessness. It's this message of the hearts of many growing cold. That's how Babylon is falling, is fallen. It has fallen. It's become a cage of every unclean bird. Evil spirits are now lodged within those who are professing Christianity. And, you could see that this is that great falling away that Jesus talked about, the love of many growing cold. This is what Paul talked about. Until the great falling away, Christ has not come yet. You see that verse as well that, goes along with this same idea. That's in Thessalonians. Here, let me just go over there just so that I can read that, because that's definitely what we're talking about here. Paul says, let me see. Till the great falling away. This is in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ and our gathering together to him, that you be not soon shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by spirit nor by word nor by the letter from us, as the day of the Christ is at hand. Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition. So this is that great falling away that we're seeing. This is Babylon has fallen. This is the beginning of Revelation chapter 18. We're seeing it. Now, Babylon has not been judged in her totality, but we have seen that she's fallen. And so this is the beginning of that. And so when you look at like the scripture that I had showed you in Revelation chapter 16, verse 19, this is Revelation 16, 19. And the great city was divided into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell. See how this all connects together? And the cities of the nations fell. So, some could say, well, Babylon represents one city. Well, okay, she's representing the whore of Babylon. You know, she's a city. She's setting on many tribes, nations, and tongues. So this is not just a one small, city like New York. It's more than that. You could see that because it says, and the cities, plural, of the nations fell. And she was divided into 3 parts. And the great Babylon came in remembrance before God to give her the cup of the wine of the wrath of the fierceness of his wrath. So this fall at the beginning of Revelation chapter 18 preludes this. And this is where I'm tying it in to, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. This is that great falling away that we are seeing. This is what we can see is happening with all these churches that are falling prey to the Catholic Church, coming back under, they're being drawn back under, coming back to the mother church, the mother of harlots. That's what we see is going on. But we're literally seeing this unfold before our eyes. I mean, this is the Bible literally coming, and we're seeing prophecy be fulfilled before our eyes. So hopefully you can see this. And so this is why people will be susceptible to bow down. Same concept of Balaam with Balak and the Moabite women, the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, the pride of life. This is what makes people susceptible and hooks them and baits them through covetousness, through what they desire. And so this is what makes them get to a place to where they will literally, all the walls will come down. And so this is why I'm trying to show you why the people will take the mark, be susceptible to take it, why they will worship the beast, because they're already worshiping him in their heart by serving themselves and not dying to the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life. And so therefore they're not true Christians. It really shows the separation of those who are goats and those who are truly sheep. And we're seeing that unfold before us. So hopefully this video blessed you. Hopefully it opened your eyes to see clearer of what's coming to, the nations of the world, not just America. America obviously is living in such a way, we have in our money and God we trust. We are unique in that fashion. So whether there'll be physical judgments that will pummel this nation, which, wouldn't be surprising if it did, because, of our history, what we've claimed, to be this godly nation and how far we have fallen from that concept, taking the 10 Commandments out of school, taking prayer out of school. I mean, it's just been a moral landslide of decline. Within the last 100 years, it's just been completely, you could see that Satan has come down because he knows he has a short time. And this is all being unfolded before our eyes. So please like and subscribe, share this video, get this information out there. I believe that we're supposed to be able to discern the signs of the times, as Jesus said. We're supposed to be the watchful bride. I believe that this is some insight that people need to know, some connections, and it seems like pretty clear that we're living in the end times. We're living in the last days, the last seconds of the last days. He's writing, not just the last page, the last sentence of the last page. It seems like we are at the very end of the end. So God bless all those who are contending for the faith, and